So I used to live my life in the shadows of everyone else's expectation. I used to say yes when I wanted to scream no. I gave pieces of my soul to people who didn't even notice, and I thought that was love. I thought that's what being good meant, you know? But here are the things. Every time I said yes without meaning it, every time I bent myself to be someone I wasn't, I was just quietly erasing what I really was. And that's end today. And here's the truth no one tells you. People pleasing isn't kindness, it's self-sabotage. It's giving your power away so someone else can feel comfortable. And I've done it, you've done it, you're probably still doing it right now, and it still happened to me. But here's the things. What if I told you that there is a way out? That there is a way to stop without that much fear or that much guilt? And especially without losing yourself in the process. And that's where I'm taking you today. So today I'm taking you through exactly why we get stuck in this cycle and how to break free step by step. It's real, raw and straight from the lesson I had to learn myself. And by the end of this video, I think you got it, you will not only know why you people please, but also how to stop self-sabotaging for everyone else, for others' expectation, and start living your life fully. Hi, I'm Liloh, welcome back to my channel, and today we're diving into something a lot of people struggle with, but a few admit aloud, and that is people pleasing. Maybe you know, but not so long ago I desperately needed people to love me. I wanted them to like me, I wanted them to agree with me, and I thought that my chameleon-like ability to blend in every group was like a benediction, you know, a blessing from the gods. I really thought this was strength, you know, this was something that came with emotional intelligence, but that isn't true. And at this time I didn't realize that this skill came with a cost. The cost of silencing my true voice, of silencing my uniqueness, of losing who I really was, for pleasing others and for reaching everyone else's expectations. And there was actually one man I need to thank for waking me up to this. I know I'm thanking you, man, and I never thought I'd be like that. The only man I love is my little brothers, my boyfriend, and my dad. If you're not one of them, please fuck off, go away. And I remember I could feel in every conversation that he wanted to dominate, and I was there always doing my best to make him happy, to please him, and I didn't even wanted to please him, you know. I wasn't even interested in him. It was my gay friend, like we were like that, really. And it went on and on. He became more and more demanding, and no matter how much I gave, it was never enough. And suddenly I remember myself realizing that I was projecting my father onto him. Yeah, wait a minute. That same feeling I had as a child, trying so hard to be loved and not quite being enough. That's it. That was what I was feeling. And it was playing out again, not only with this boy, but with almost everybody I knew. Like with my boyfriend, that was my current boyfriend right now, with my friends, with my sister, with my mom, with my dad, with my teachers, with everybody. And this boy made me realize that my whole life I repeated the same pattern. Like if I gave, if I try, if I do my best, if I become small, maybe then I be loved. And that was a really strong belief in myself, and I bring it with me every time I move and everywhere since my childhood. Imagine how hard it is to get out of this. And I finally saw how much of my energy, my time, my soul, my love, my kindness I poured into trying to be liked, into trying to be loved, into trying to be respected. And the truth was, I wasn't really doing this to make others happy. I really do think and believe now that I was doing it because I thought their approval would finally give me everything I didn't give to myself. You know, I wasn't giving to myself. Care, attention, love, respect, time, space, energy. After I sat down, after I thought about everything I've just realized, that's when I decided I do not want to live this life anymore. That's end today. And I knew it's going to be a long journey because it's been in my bones for decades. So let's get right into it. This is chapter 1, part 1. What is people pleasing? It's really interesting, isn't it? I think you guessed it, but people pleasing isn't kindness. It isn't generosity. At its core, it's really about one thing: the need to be liked. And yes, that need often comes from fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, and the list goes on. You know you're a people pleaser if you say yes when you want to say no, you over apologize, you avoid saying your true opinion, you over accommodate to other people's needs, and you constantly seek validation. And there's a lot more. Look for this trait: perfection, anxiety around disapproval, around conflict, low self-esteem, self-sacrificing tendencies, conflict avoidance, difficulty setting boundaries, over-agreeableness. I don't know how to pronounce this word, I'm sorry. And the list goes on. Sound familiar? It creeps in so quietly that one day it becomes your default mode. And you didn't even realize it. And you're not the only one feeling it. Your body feels it too. It tightens your chest. It can be a really sore throat, wanting to cry, having anxiety in your gut, or resentment simmering beneath the surface. But there is one big thing about people pleasing: you gave everything to everybody, to anyone around you, just because you don't feel enough, and you need to be loved, and you need to be liked, and you need to be looked after, you know? But there's one thing: you will build resentment toward those person. And one thing is, you might look generous on the outside, but the truth is, you're drained. Because you gave so many things to everybody, every time. Everything's fine, you're the chill guy, you're a cool girl, never saying something to bother other people, you know? And never going against other people's opinion. But one thing is, you're fucking drained inside. I know this feeling, like I created. A woman I love, Merriam-Webster, defined a people pleaser as someone who has an emotional need to please others, often at the expense of himself or herself, often at the expense of their own needs. When you're acting like that every fucking day of your life, you're creating pathway, neuronal pathway in your brain that will become highway. The repetition, and you know we already talked about that, like neuroplasticity and things. The repetition of something will be engraved in your bones, will be engraved in your head. That doesn't mean you can change, because you always can, thanks to neuroplasticity too. Our brains are amazing. But here's what's dangerous: when people pleasing become your identity, you forget who you really are. And that's the worst thing that can happen, because it's so hard and difficult to bring yourself back into your body, into your mind. So why do we do it? Because we think love is conditional. Because we think our worth depends on how much we give, on our kindness, in our ability to blend in. But the truth is, people pleasing isn't generosity, it's a survival mechanism. So how do you know when your people pleasing personality is active? You feel the urge to say no right after you said yes. You feel misaligned with who you are, with your values. You feel misaligned with the decision you just made. Your self-esteem takes a hit, but that's actually progress, because it means you noticed it. You noticed the pattern, which is hard because you're repeating it every day of your life since your birth. So do you know how rare is it to be aware of your people-pleasing scheme, to be aware of all the self-sabotaging things you do on a daily basis? That's truly rare. And that's when you notice, when you feel this misalignment, you know, when you feel the urge to change your choice, change your word, that's a real opportunity to grow. That's actually progress. It means you're noticing it, that you're no longer on autopilot. So when you're noticing it, you're starting to reclaim your power. And this feeling is fucking powerful. Chapter 1, Part 2, the deep roots of people pleasing. Maybe you guessed it, maybe not, but people pleasing doesn't start in adulthood. It came from the childhood. As always, everything we do on a daily basis during our adult phase came from our childhood. I'm a big believer that if you don't change your brain and don't train yourself to notice your pattern and change, you won't be able to change that. You can change, of course, but it will be so much difficult. And especially like I met a lot of girls and men that were always creating excuses about their behaviors, when the only person that controls his or her behavior is himself. You have to already notice your pattern, notice you have the power to change, and reclaim your power, and then start acting on it. So yes, as you guessed, people pleasing doesn't come from adulthood, it came from the childhood. I read an amazing article, and in it there were some psychologists that called it the fun response. You know, fight, flight, freeze, and fun. And funny means appeasing others to avoid a complaint or a rejection. And it's what many of us learn in chaotic homes, in places and in family where love felt conditional and that you have to earn it. If you grew up like me with inconsistent love, you must have learned that in order to be loved, I must earn it. I must perform for it. I must change myself for it. And because of that, you became hyper aware of other people's mood, and you learn how to shape shift to match the energy of the people in front of you, to be safe, to be loved, to be. You constantly scan for danger, and you shape shift to match other people's energy, other people's opinion, so they can give you attention, care, a lot, everything you crave for, and everything you didn't really had during your childhood. And this chameleon-like skill, this shapeshifter blood in ourselves, can be explained by neuroscience. It explains that mirror neurons make people pleaser extra sensitive to other people's emotion. They feel what they feel, then they adjust and start to forget their own color, because they're adjusting so much to the color of people around them that they don't know what they look like. They only knew the facade creates for them. I do believe that one of the hard truths is being kind to survive was necessary then. It's a survival mechanism, not a rule for life. And being nice because you fear harm, because you fear rejection, is just a learned belief, a false protection, false strategy you develop as a kid to stay safe. But it doesn't have to rule your life anymore. You're safe now, you're not a kid anymore. Much older, you are wiser, you have much more knowledge. A woman called Maria Sirota put it perfectly. Listen. Because children take everything personally, they believe that if they are mistreated, it's because they weren't good enough. Being good as an adult makes them believe incorrectly that they have control. They think they will be rewarded for their goodness and that it will protect them from harm. In my opinion, this sentence is a habit of people pleasing. Truly. And here's the real danger, the real red flag. Being a people pleaser makes you vulnerable to toxic relationships, to narcissists, to manipulators, to covert abusers. Why? Because they can sense the gap between your boundaries and your compliance. Every time you walk on eggshells, every time you work past your boundaries, the more they exploit your need for love and approval. And this pattern repeats silently, every day, forever and ever, until you notice it. That's why it's so important to know what is people pleasing. And finally, the last part of chapter 1, which is the impact of people pleasing. And let's be real, people pleasing isn't just emotionally draining, it can make you sick, literally sick. Listen attentively, ladies. Studies show that women who habitually people please, who suppress their voices, are at higher risk for autoimmune disease and premature death. Why? Because your body carries all the weight of the boundaries you once set, all the stress and resentment you absorb from others, all the mood you try to smooth over. Because when you stop protecting yourself, your body stops protecting it too. It's not just for your health, it also affects your relationship. When you overgive, you think you're helping, but you actually make people suffocate. You take away their agency, you take away their power, and then you build resentment over them, but they build resentment over you. And I know at first people pleasing seems to be a superpower, because who doesn't want to make others happy? Who doesn't want to be loved? But research tells us there's a hidden cost. The people high in sociotropy experience the most distress around disapproval, around conflict. Why? Because avoiding conflict, always suppressing your needs, prevents from authentic communication. And without that authenticity, how do you want your relationship to grow? It can't thrive. It's either built on lies or inauthenticity. You need to be authentic in your communication. So think of it like this: when your emotional wounds are unresolved, anxiety sneaks in. And then when you want connection, your patterns will sabotage it. So yes, your fear of rejection, your fear of abandonment, and your need to be loved stop you from expressing your true self. You will enter a cycle of suppressing who you really are in order to be liked, in order to please people, and you're going to be stuck helping people without being valued, giving to people without being seen. And it is explained by the family system theory. It shows that this pattern will repeat across generations. It also shows that you will carry your family emotional dynamics into every relationship, unless you decide consciously to break the cycle. So yeah, the cost of people pleasing isn't just exhaustion. It's your health, it's your freedom, and it's your authenticity. It's who you are. Chapter 2, Part 1, the common mistakes when trying to stop. I know, once you realize you're a people pleaser, you're people pleasing, you want to change fast. You want to repeat a lot of your system like poison. But here's why many of us fall flat: because we rush, we overcorrect, or we expect ourselves to be perfect at unlearning some things that been in our bones for decades. The mistake number 1 is believing saying no is enough. I know a thing. I know the first no can feel like freedom. It also feels like our chest is opening up for the first time. But then the guilt crushes like wave in our stomach, and we start backpedaling. Your mind starts whispering, what if they hate me? What if I deceive them? What if they don't like me anymore? What if they leave me alone? What if a lot of bad things happen? The no isn't the destination, it's the training ground. It's the gym where you build the muscle of self-respect. And yes, the reps feel shaky at first, but that doesn't mean you're failing. When you go to the gym and you start benching maybe 80 kilos, it feels really hard at first because you didn't do it on the first time. You tried for months before being able to bench 80 kilograms. The same thing. No isn't the destination, because no is just a word. It's like only focusing on the goal and not how to go to that goal. Like, the destination isn't as important as the way. You know, you're going to from A to Z, but no isn't Z. No is a step that you need to repeat enough time to attain the Z part. Mistake number 2 is expecting perfection. If you're like me, the first time you decided to stop people pleasing, you wanted to ace it. You think, okay, no more self-abandoning, self-sabotaging, no more people pleasing. I'm now the queen of boundaries. But healing doesn't look like that. It looks like stumbling, over-explaining, caving, and then trying again. Think of it like learning to walk. You don't criticize each other for falling. So why beat yourself up for being messy at boundaries? It's your first time doing it. Please tell me why you expect your transformation to be clean, perfect, and immediate. People pleasing is a habit embedded in years of fear and trauma. It can't be erased overnight. Mistake 3 is ignoring the body. Every time you betray yourself, your body keeps the score. And keep it in mind. Tight chest, clenched jaw, shallow breath. When you start creating boundaries, saying no, those sensations don't vanish. They often intensify. And if you keep pushing past them, if you keep trying your best and going for it every day without care, without attention, you will feel exhausted because you didn't respect your own body. It's not an enemy, it's your compass. You need to listen to it. Every trigger, every knot in your stomach is data. that show where the trauma still lives, where the fear still hides. When you stop people pleasing, it may feel like panic, distress, discomfort, and most people ignore the signals, thinking it's weakness. But it's literally your body telling you, hey, I'm used to surviving by people pleasing. That shit is scary. Please slow down. Please do it step by step. It's unusual for me. So think of it like that. So Jane felt her chest tattered every time she said no, every time she tried to respect her boundary. And she forced herself to speak up without respecting the discomfort, without doing it slowly, without respecting her body feelings, without taking the time. And she ended up feeling exhausting, drained, and almost back to the intro. So the lesson right now is listen to your body, respect your pace. This isn't a sprint. This is a delicate learning that's been engraved in your bones for decades. Mistake 4, replacing one performance with another. This one hurts. Let me explain. So some of us may start to stop people pleasing as a new performance. It doesn't come from a grounded truth. It came from a desire to prove something. To prove that we're not like that. We are not a people pleaser. But now we do it for validation and we're still performing, but in reverse. But the goal never was to swing from the doormat to the dictator. The goal is balance. The goal is peace. The goal is freedom. We're not on Broadway. You don't have to show off. You just have to be yourself and to respect your own values, desire, needs. You're not a doormat and you're not a dictator. Stop trying to control everything because on this side you try to control others' perception of you, and on this one you try to control others' perception of you too. You want them to validate yourself, and on this one you want to show up that you are not the same anymore. You are not a little kid that says yes every time. And the last mistake is not seeing the triggers. So I'll give you an example. Jane, remember her? So every time her phone buzzes and that she saw her mom's name, her body froze. So before she even answered the phone, she was back to being that little girl who was craving for approval, who wanted to be liked, who wanted to be loved. And that is the thing. Until you become conscious of your triggers and you start noticing it, you'll be pulled back into back patterns on autopilot and for the end of your life. Awareness is the first step of freedom. And so if you're in this stage, please take a breath, relax. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to notice it. That's the first step. You know, I had a friend who came over and asked me, hey, how do you know what triggers you? Because I can't seem to know. I identify my triggers when I'm kind of pissed off of who I am. When I always feel a certain ache in my stomach, when I feel a sore throat, and I feel like I'm a kid, I know it's a trigger because it came from my childhood, and it happens a lot with my dad. I remember for a long time, my stepmother and I wasn't best friends at all. And when I entered college, you know, I already told you my dad was my God. When I was a child, I was protecting him, so I was already playing the adult for protecting my dad. It wasn't my role, but I thought it was. And I've always tried to appease everything with my dad, always making myself small and saying things I don't even think because I know it will make him happy. And every time I was coming home, I was feeling like the 8-year-old kid I used to be. So I was already coming home to my dad being scared and knowing that it will be shitty, and I held a lot of guilt in my belly and my stomach because I have 3 little brothers that live there, and I was thinking, okay, if I don't please them, maybe I'll never see my brother again. I felt like my love was conditional of how I was treating my stepmother. So when I was in college, I came back home. We had a fight with my stepmother, with my dad. I decided to leave because I didn't want it to be mean, and then I sat outside looking at the stars, and I remember thinking, why am I always acting like an 8 fucking years old? Why? I don't want, I'm not this person anymore. Or I am safe, I have my own family, I have my own home. It's okay, I'm not this one anymore, and I don't want to feel this pressure and this guilt anymore. When I first noticed this, I was like, duh, it's my fault. And I was already putting myself in a guilt trip too, in this cycle. Then I really felt it in my body that it wasn't me. It was just a trigger and I was just replaying the feeling I had the first time I felt that. So it's the 8-year-old girl that were traumatized, that were still playing this feeling over and over. And then I felt it in my body. This peace knowing that it's just a trigger and I can consciously break it. And then I felt that swoosh, that freedom, that's the weight of a big stone leaving my body instantly. And from this day, I never felt like the 8-year-old version of me at my dad. Never. I feel like going back to my old way sometimes when I'm really tired, I'm not on a good mood, but I instantly noticed it and choose not to. It's really an exercise. The more you notice it, the more your brain will notice it. Chapter 2, Part 2, Mindset Shift. Now let's get into the heart of it, the reprogramming. Because if you don't change the story in your mind, the boundaries will never stick. So here's are some truths I had to tattoo in my soul to stop betraying myself. First of all, saying no is not rejection. I know if you're here, when you say no, your inner child panics. It must think, they will leave me, they think I'm a bad person, I'll deceive them, etc., etc. I can't be loved. But the adult truth is, people won't vanish because you set healthy boundaries, because you respect yourself. No, they will adjust and they will respect you even more because you start respecting yourself. The only people who will be mad at you because you set boundaries, because you said no, is the one that was taking advantage of your lack of boundaries and of your lack of self-respect. That's it. If he or she is really your friend, they will never ever stop loving you for respecting yourself. Never. And I know your nervous system is wired to fear rejection, to scan for danger in every conflict, in every room. But saying no doesn't mean disconnection, doesn't mean separation. It's not because of you saying no that the person in front of you will leave you and will stop talking to you. Because it doesn't mean you're separate, you're different, because we all are. It just means your ID and your choosing and your beliefs aren't the same. That's it. It just means you respect yourself. No is like a yes. If I say no, I respect myself and I respect the person in front of me, because if I lie to him saying yes and I go there and I will be like that, I'll be mad because I'm here and I don't want to be. It's my fault. I agree too, because I made up a story of him being deceived by my choice, by my no, of him leaving me because I said no. But it's not the truth. There is more chance he will leave after a long time of me sacrificing myself and always not being really there extra. A personal example. So some time ago I was working and I was afraid of deceiving my coworkers. And I was always anxious, a black void in my stomach and a sore throat. Every time I couldn't even breathe, it was hurting me because I was so scared of deceiving them because I will say no or don't know what to say. And one time I said no to a favor. My coworker asked me and I was panicking. I went to the toilet and started crying and started thinking about what will happen to me right now. Until I realized they didn't care. They were okay. They were like, whoa, that's the first time you say no. You're growing up. But in my head, I thought they will leave me and everything. But it wasn't that bad. I was waiting for them to hate me, but nothing happens. And that's why I understand that everything is made up in my mind and in our mind. And my fear was real, you know, but the consequences I had imagined wasn't. So yes, saying no is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. 2, conflict is not danger. Like, I know for a people pleaser, the smallest conflict in interrogation can feel like war. But conflict isn't destruction, it's communication, you know? Like, healthy relationships aren't supposed to only be good, only be great, and only be on the right side of it. They're built on weathering storm together. For a people pleaser, conflict triggers our primal part of the brain, but danger isn't the same as discomfort, and we have to know the difference between that. But because fear comes from our primal brain, and at the time it was helping us to survive, because if, I don't know, there was a big lion behind me, I was getting scared and then I was running away. The fear, this reaction helped me. But nowadays, I just have like a conflictual conversation with someone. It's not dangerous, just discomfort because they don't agree with me, you know? That's it. It's not dangerous. And CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, it teaches us if I say no, someone might be upset, but I am still safe. I am still enough and I am still worthy. Like, for example, if you've been avoiding a conversation with your best friend or your roommate over like some course, and you've built up this whole story in your mind that there will have like broken clocks, showing broken friendships and broken place. But when you finally address it calmly, it wasn't chaos, it was just a conversation. So you survive this conflict and with your dignity intact. Mindset tip number 3 is other people's opinions are not gospel. A frown, a sigh, a raised eyebrow. How quickly we let these signals turn into storms in our mind. But the truth is, the reaction belongs to them. Not, you don't have to take care of their mood, of their emotion, because it came from their own perception of life, not the reality that just happened. Because we all perceive reality through our own glasses, through our own perspective. So if I see a 6 in front of me, maybe the person in front of me won't agree, and he'll start screaming at me, no, it's wrong, it's 9. And I say, no, it's 6. Who's wrong? Who's wrong? Because if I take his place, I'll see a 9. But it doesn't make my response less accurate. Because if he takes my place, he'll see a 6. And yes, their judgment is not a sentence you must serve. And you have to accept and understand that what they see in you is just filtered by the lens of their own wounds, fears, and insecurity. It doesn't define who you are, who you really are. When someone disapproves with you, it doesn't mean you failed. It means you're stepping out of the script they had for you, they had made for your life. And that's not a tragedy, that's a liberation. And everything they're saying about you, their discomfort is not yours. Their discomfort is the echo of their own reflection, of their own story. And it doesn't say anything about your worth. You're not a mirror designed to flatter your self-image. You're not a human made to please others, to make their life easier. That's not your role. You are a voice, a presence, a life unfolding, and their frown is theirs to carry. You don't have to bow beneath it. Never, ever. It's their own opinion. It's the only thing I say is that they're uncomfortable with themselves. That's not your fault. It's their reaction, and what you can't control shouldn't be in your mind. Can you control their face, their muscle? Can you control what they think? No. So it's not yours. Leave it. Let them think what they want. For you are not responsible for other happiness. Let that thinking. You are not the sun that must rise on everyone's horizon. No. And yes, you can shine, but you cannot dictate how someone else will receive your light. Too often we twist ourselves into constellations so we can illuminate someone else's night, but we often forget that our light isn't infinite. Their joy, their healing, their sense of meaning aren't yours to carry. It's their burden. That is their work, not yours. You don't have to carry them. It's theirs, not yours. One of the light of people pleasing is your value will increase the more you sacrifice. But every time you empty yourself to keep others full, you're left hollow and you're still wondering why love is out of reach. Happiness is not a currency you pay for someone else. And the day you realize that is the day true freedom arises. Like, you are not here to be someone else's reservoir. You are here to be whole, to be alive, to be loved, but mostly loved. Mindset tip 5, your needs are sacred. I know that we are taught that tending to ourselves is selfish, that saying yes to our needs is indulgence, but your needs aren't luxuries. They're literally the foundation stone of your being. Like, to deny them is to build your life on a crumbling ground. Your rest, your hunger, your desire, your boundaries, they are sacred contracts between you and your existence. Think of it, every time you choose yourself, every time you respect your needs, you're not betraying others. No. Instead, you're honoring the life force that allows you to show up in the first place. Like, self-care is not vanity, it's devotion. It's refusing to betray yourself for approval. Okay, think it like oxygen. If you cut off your own air, how long can you go and pretend to breathe life into others? Your needs are holy, treat them that way. 6. Authenticity will ruffle feathers. Trust me, it's the moment of you step out of the costume of perfect. Someone will call you cold, selfish, arrogant, or unkind. That's inevitable. But the truth is, what they're naming has nothing to do with you, because your refusal to stay small disturbs the balance they once relied on. Authenticity is disruptive for sure, but disruption is what sets you free. And every feather ruffle is a proof that you no longer shape-shift yourself into palatable shapes. It's a proof that you're claiming your space, you're reclaiming your voice, you're reclaiming your power. And yes, it may sting when the first whispers inside I begin, when faces twist with confusion and disappointment, but remember, smooth seas never curved a strong coastline. Friction is a part of becoming real. And you are not here to be universally liked. You are here to be fully alive, to be fully yourself, to be whole. Mindset shift 7 is repetition rewires. And no, this is not poetry, this is neuroscience. Your brain is sculpted by what you practice. Every boundary you set, every guilt you sit through without surrender, every time you refuse to abandon yourself, you are carving a neural pathway in your brain. And I know at first it kind of feel unfamiliar, like writing with your non-dominant arm, but trust me, with the repetition and the time, the trend becomes the familiar. The guilt softens, like what once felt like rebellion is now feeling like a rhythm. Like you're literally rewriting your nervous system to think your needs are safe, to think that your boundaries will not destroy you, that self-respect is not a threat but a homecoming, and that is powerful. That is empowering. And trust me, practice is not punishment. It is freedom in progress. 8. Emotions are data, not commands. Anxiety and stress doesn't always mean danger. Guilt doesn't always mean wrong. Fear doesn't always mean to stop. Emotions are messengers, not masters. They do carry information about where you've been, about how you feel, about what you learn, about the edges of your comfort zone. But they are not laws you must obey. Not at all. For example, when you feel guilt, it might just be your nervous system panicking at the unfamiliar taste of freedom. When you feel fear, when you fear a surge, it might not be a sign to stop, it might not be a real life, but simply a signal that you're entering a new territory and then an unknown place. You're stepping out of your comfort zone. So learn to sit with the data without mistaking it for destiny. Imagine emotional waves. You are the ocean. You don't have to drown in them. You can learn to surf. You can learn to master it. You can learn and feel that if you are the ocean and your emotions are the wave, they're just passing by. And they're not definitive. Mindset shift number 9 must be tattooed in your head. Your worth is unconditional. Okay, what I want you to do right now is strip away your achievements, strip away your fears, strip away your sacrifice, strip away your wins and your titles. What remains? You. And that you is already worthy. Not because you earned it, not because you've promised it, not because you've been flawless. Simply just because you exist. You exist, you are human, so you're worthy. And that's it. It ends there. Period. And I know we're conditioned to believe that our worth depends on how much we give, on our wins, on our title, and in order to be loved, we must earn it. But worth doesn't live in performance, not at all. And it is not measured by how much you give, by how well you please, or by how perfectly you play the role we assign to you. No, worth is not earned. It is inherent, like breath, like a heartbeat, like the sun's warmth. And you are valuable because you are here. Full stop. And the last mindset shift is boundaries are doors, not walls. Like too many of us believe that boundaries are designed to push people away, when the truth is absolutely not. They don't isolate you, they protect you, they create clarity, safety, freedom. So a boundary is not an act of rejection, but an invitation that says, this is how I can love you without losing myself. Think of it this way, without walls, a home can't stand. Without doors, it cannot welcome, and boundaries do both. They preserve the sanctuary of your peace and energy while allowing in those who honor it, who respect it. Far from pushing people away, boundaries make your intimacy deeper, cleaner, and more honest. And for me, they are the foundation, the architecture of healthy love. And finally, Chapter II, Part 3, the roadmap to freedom. So here's where we put it all together. And instead of handing you 20 separate tips, I wanted to give you a roadmap. 5 great duties to yourself. So think of them as pillars, and each one is holding a part of your freedom. And of course, inside each pillar, there are some practices and practical steps. So duty 1 is awareness, or seeing the pattern. And as I said before you can change, you have to see it, you have to notice it. That means recognizing your pattern without judgment. And that's exactly what I want you to do. Notice the guilt that follows, the fear in your belly, and especially track your triggers, the people, the environment, the situation that pull you back into pleasing. And this isn't about shaming yourself, it's about turning the light on in your dark room. Duty 2 is boundaries, or as I love to call it, building the fence of love. Again, boundaries aren't weapons, they're doors, and you can start small with like a simple no, not over-explaining yourself, not justifying yourself, or maybe fighting the urges to over-apologize. And I know that at first it felt terrifying, and some of your friends may call you selfish, may tell you that you change. But each time you respect your boundaries, each time you draw a line, you remind yourself that yes, I am allowed to exist as I am. And yes, it will disappoint some people, but that's part of the process. Duty 3, self-love, or becoming your own refuge. And welcome to the deepest shift there. Learning to give yourself what you begged for from others. It can be care, love, attention, respect, rest, validation. So start treating yourself the way you wish others would. Instead of waiting for approval, become the one who approves. And this not just means like taking care of yourself, brushing your hair, building oil, no. It means daily practices like journaling, affirmation, meditation, or rituals that encourage you in your own worth. Duty 4, courage, or facing the fallout. Let me be honest with you, when you stop pleasing, not everybody will clap, for sure. Some will scream, some will be disappointed, some will leave. And this is where courage comes in. So you'll learn to sit with guilt without caving. You'll learn to being disliked and not crumbling. And you'll learn that your authenticity matters much more than universal approval. Duty 5, practice, or rewiring through repetition. First of all, can we all agree that freedom isn't a one-time decision? It's a daily practice. So every time you say no, every time you respect your boundaries, every time you resist the urges to over-explaining, over-apologizing, etc., every time that you honor yourself, that you honor your body signals, you're teaching your nervous system that you are safe. And as I said earlier, with repetition, guilt softens, fears quiets, and self-respect become your new normal. Thank you so much for watching this video. We're already at the end of it. So here are the 3 key takeaways of this video. So first of all, people pleasers often sacrifice their needs, time, resources, and energy to satisfy others. 2, this behavior is deeply rooted in childhood experiences, especially if love or acceptance felt conditional or if the environment lacked safety and security. And finally, awareness is the first step. So notice when your people-pleasing triggers arise. So who or what and how you respond. I'm sorry, but my 2 baby cats are here and they're so cute. Oh my god, I'm going to take a picture. How cute are they? Cute. Welcome to the homework chapter, but today is a 7-step guide to freedom from people pleasing. Let's get into it right now. First of all, take your time to reflect. So when you feel triggered, pause and examine your feeling, your choices and motivation before you respond. 2, say I don't instead of I can't. Because say I don't assert your choice confidently without over-explaining. And that's a great start. 3, avoid assumption. Go check reality instead of creating and inventing scenarios or blaming yourself. 4, know your core values. Because when you really know what matters to you, it becomes so much easier to say no. 5, prioritize what's important to you. So focus your energy on what's aligned with your goals and your values and who you really are. 6, build internal validation. Like, stop relying solely on others' opinion to affirm your worth. You are the one in charge of your worth and how you feel. So build that internal validation system. And 7, accept that you can't please anyone, and that's okay. Because the true freedom, I realize, lies in this truth. And once you accept that you can't please everyone, it's becoming easier and easier. And because people pleasing is often an habit shaped in childhood, it's possible to change it, to rewire your brain. But it takes time, patience, and repetition. And the truth about people pleasing is, it may have been your survival once, but it doesn't have to be your story forever. And the more you repeat these boundaries, like awareness, boundaries, self-love, courage, and repetition, the more you realize something powerful. You never had to sacrifice yourself in order to be loved. You never had to earn or perform in order to be loved and accepted. You always were. And yes, it will be messy. Yes, you'll disappoint people, and yes, you'll feel guilt. But every stumble is still a movement forward. Because for the first time, you're walking your own path instead of crawling on someone else. And think about this, the person who will always be with you day and night, every second of your life, 24/7, is you. So if you don't enjoy your own company, this is where the works begin. Because the relationship you have with yourself set the tone for every other relationship you'll have in your life. People pleasing isn't love, people pleasing isn't kindness, it's disempowerment. And of course, at first people will start to fight your boundaries. Some may even leave, but the right people will stay, and they will celebrate and to take you. And as Saint George and Dali said, people pleasing pleases everyone but the pleaser. And that is fucking true. Stop betraying yourself for acceptance and start investing and nurturing the most important of all the relationships you'll ever have, the one with yourself. And this brings us to the end of the video, and I really hope this content shed light on the psychological patterns behind people pleasing. So if you learned something, if you loved and enjoyed this video, please feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And now I invite you to reflect on your journey in the comment. How are you practicing healthy boundaries, reclaiming your voice, and stepping into your authentic self? And remember, the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. So protect it, invest in it, and respect it, and honor it. Ciao, ciao!